If you like this podcast or the previous ones, please consider buying me a coffee at buymeacoffee.com/Frankie'sPod. It just goes to help fund the software and the hosting. Hi, welcome back to the podcast. Tonight it's going to be a little bit different to what I'm normally doing. So normally I interview veterans or someone who's got a connection to the military. Now, the guy I'm talking to tonight has got a very small connection to the military, which we'll touch on later. He's called Rod Glenn. He's an actor and an author. He's appeared in many films and TV series and got quite a few books out, dark atmospheric books. So today, while I was at work, I asked ChatGPT to tell me who Rod Glenn was. And that's going to be the title of this podcast. Who is Rod Glenn? Hi, Rod. How are you doing?
I'm good. I'm good. Long time no see.
Yeah, it is. And you've got the lovely Kathryn with you as well tonight as well.
Yep, Kathryn Saborn, actor, writer, singer, stunt woman.
I mean, just a cocktail of random is what Kathryn is, if that's what GPT is going to come up with.
Yeah, baker as well.
No, the last one's more important than anything, isn't it?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Her focaccia is legendary.
Oh,
The
shut up,
only
I'm on a
reason I
diet,
get
man.
invited to parties, I'm sure.
Yeah, I'm on a diet. Pack it in. I've had like a really small tea and I'm starving. Anyway, right. Before we digress into me trying to lose weight, which is never going to happen, just so we can get a feel of who you are, Rod, can you just give us a quick overview of like where you grew up and what made you go into the line of work that you wanted to be an actor?
Right. Well, I'm from the Northeast in general. I've lived in multiple places. I think Hazelrig for probably the longest time, but currently living in Whitley Bay with Kathryn. Um, in school, I desperately wanted to act and write. Well, actually, I wanted three things. I wanted to join the army, act, and write. Those were the three things. Um, Straight out of school, well, in school, I did loads of plays and wrote daft stories that were usually based on whatever film or TV show I'd watched at the time.
Hmm.
And then out of school, I just got normal jobs, concentrated on my writing for a while. Um, Applied to the police force, got most of the way through that, and then didn't end up getting in. Did sales jobs and retail jobs and all kinds of call centers, all kinds of stuff like that. Yeah, I know. And it wasn't until about 15 years ago I got back into acting. It was actually a chance open casting for World War Z. And I decided to go along for it. They wanted people with military experience or firearms trained, and actually one of the other jobs I did, I got trained in firearms and CQB and various other things by some ex-SAS guys, and did some close protection for a while.
Yeah.
And I did a very small stint with the RMP Reserve to help gain experience
You're
and
not allowed to
weapons
say
training.
RMP on this channel.
That's why I said it very quickly. There, it's done. It's out the way.
No, honestly, everyone takes the as a go at the monkeys or the RMPs as the monkeys is what I call them, but they're there to do a job and they do it well.
Exactly. But like I say, I was only I was only there very briefly. And then the acting took off. And I was writing as well, so a few books, mainly thrillers, horrors, sci-fi, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I've looked up a few of your books. You've got like they're all like I wouldn't like to delve into your mind, put it that way. I think it could be quite a dark place. What gives you the inspiration for the books?
It comes from all kinds of different places. Sometimes from aspects of a dream, or sometimes just asking a very simple question like, what if America was still ruled by a monarchy? And that's how one of my books, The King of America, came about. So sometimes it can be literally just a very simple question
Yeah.
that then evolves into a story. So yeah, all sorts of places. The last thing we've written together is a folk horror-y type of thriller called Springweight, which we're actually in pre-production on, trying to get the funding to film that in the northeastern Cumbria. So that's our current big project that we're working on.
So what was it like going for your first like auditions and stuff like that? If you'd like, I mean, you've done your bit at school and everything, but actually going in, like you said, open casting for World War Z was that nervous?
Terrifying.
Was it? Yeah, I was going to say, I can
Oh,
imagine it
Never
would be.
gets easier.
No,
yeah. I'm still to this day, 15 years later, I still get very nervous doing auditions. I mean, a lot. Luckily, because of COVID, a lot of auditions now are actually self tapes, so you're not actually in the room with the director and casting director and stuff. A lot of the time, you're just filming it on your camera and then you send it in to them.
Which is great in one way because
yeah,
then you don't have someone burning a hole through your head watching you.
Mm.
Only problem is now is your worst critic is now in charge, which is you,
Just
yeah.
yourself, yeah.
and you decide, well, that take was rubbish, and you drive yourself mad.
Yeah, because you're not getting any direction. You're just literally you're going off your gut instincts of what you think they might want.
Well, I suppose that's not so good for the director and the producer and stuff like that because they're not going to they're not going to see you properly. I mean, it's like the screensavers what they all used to send out and stuff like that. But if you've got someone in person, you can get a feel for them, you know. And like you
Yeah.
said, if you
Absolutely.
need to get direction, you're not. I'm going to put it. You're not getting the personality of the person, um,
Yeah.
just from a tape. I mean, it's like me doing this type of thing. You
Yeah.
know, you can
But I
be
mean,
whoever you want, but
yeah, it does certainly save a hell of a lot of money because it's most auditions are down in London, so
yeah.
the cost of trains and everything was ridiculous.
I mean, when you started off, I mean, how did you manage that? Because I mean, as a jobbing actor, let's say, if that's still a term,
Yeah,
you're not
yeah.
bringing the money in. So I mean, you have to
No,
subsidise that with a real job. I
yeah, you
say
have to have side
I
hustles.
don't. I'm sorry for saying that a real job. I didn't mean it that way.
A
No,
proper job.
Yeah.
a grown-up job.
Yeah,
Yeah.
No, you're right. You've got to have side hustles until you're getting enough acting work. You've got to have other stuff.
exactly.
We currently, I mean, I have the publishing and the book side of things as well. Kathryn has her baking as well and does other bits and pieces. We both do bits of voiceover stuff on the side as well. Um, so we've got lots of other things, and we also do murder mysteries. Um, so you've got to have your fingers in lots of different pies
Yeah.
to be able to do it. Because sometimes the acting work dries up. You've got nothing, got no money coming in, and we're both self-employed. So
Yeah. I mean, I imagine that's quite hard as well. I mean, you can't fiddle a tax. Um, got to pay yourself national insurance. You could directors' loans. I don't know if are you a public limited company yet? I
well,
suppose there's always ways
because we're
round
in
it.
pre-production with Springweight, we do actually have a limited company for the film,
Right.
but
Okay.
that's separate
That's
Yeah.
to
a
everything
different kettle
else.
of fish.
Yeah,
So when after you've done your World War Z, what was next for you after that?
I just started applying for anything and everything. I even did loads of unpaid acting work just to build up lots of experience and build up some show reel footage and things like that. So I did things for some of the universities, all the sort of film students and that sort of stuff. And then I did extra work as well, so on various TV shows and things. And then gradually you start getting offered better stuff and better paid stuff. And this year we've done several indie films. We did Zombies,
So,
Zombies
Zombies
of
of
the
the
Third
Third
Reich,
Reich.
which is a World War II horror. It's that when this comes out, you'll love it. It's just gore and action all the way through. It's awesome.
I mean, the one thing I don't understand. I mean, I love movies. I love watching movies and stuff like that. The independent movies, how do they make money? Because you don't see them
A
on
lot
big
of them
releases
don't.
and stuff like that. Yeah,
Yeah,
are they used as like a medium to get people further on in the industry? Really, as in the directors, the
a lot of them
producers.
can be.
A
Yeah,
lot of
Yeah,
them can be. Um, and, there's a lot of different funding that happens. Film festivals are,
yeah.
yeah. A lot of directors start off with directing very low budget films, and then their career progresses, investors generally then start to invest a bit more in their films, and so they can make bigger budget films. So get getting with the right sort of indie film directors is great for a lot of actors, because you never know if that director is then going to skyrocket and be the next Christopher Nolan or something like that. So
Yeah.
it's good to be in with these guys. They're the sort of grassroots directors.
I mean, up until I mean, you've served. See, that's me going back to my military bits. I've seen you've served, and you know, that type of thing.
I have served. I've been a waiter as well.
So after World War Z, I remember there was a quite a big movie you were in. It was Hippopotamus.
Yeah, there's
The Stephen
yeah,
Fry one. Yeah,
hippopotamus. Yeah,
yeah,
that's right. With Roger Allen. That was one of my first bigger budget films where I had a half decent speaking part in.
yeah.
So that was fantastic to be in that one, and working on a film that was written by Stephen Fry. I mean, it was just dream come true. So that was
I
pretty
can imagine
awesome.
that one had been quite nervous when you turned up for that. But like,
It
I mean,
was because I didn't
yeah,
get all of the full amount of dialogue until a couple of days before, and I had this big monologue that I had to stand on a stage in front of nigh on 500 extras and the director and all the crew, and I had to deliver this monologue with a full-on spray tan and dressed like a Roman centurion.
I remember the images. I wouldn't say a Roman centurion. I'd say more like a Chippendale. Uh, you didn't have a lot of clothes on.
A sexy Spartan.
Yeah, a sexy spot. People will go off now, go and Googling this, won't they?
Yeah, it was a
Talking
look.
about finding yourself.
I literally had a G-string on and they sprayed my entire body. Yeah. Yeah, that's not a pretty image.
Depends. I don't know. It wouldn't be if they sprayed me, but they need a lot more paint if they did. Put it that way. So up until now, have you got any like favorite roles that you've played as such?
Um, there's I'll finish on that one, but
Yeah,
one of my highlights was working with Michael Keaton in American Assassin. That was awesome, and he was every bit the lovely gentleman. I was worried that it was going to be like, oh, he's going to turn into be some kind of asshole or something, but he was
yeah.
an absolutely lovely, humble, quiet guy. So working with him was great. But a film we actually did this year, called Guardians of Loch Ness. There's no dates in terms of when it's being released or anything yet, but we were both joint stunt coordinators and stunt performers on that,
All
and
right.
we had an absolute blast. We created some fantastic martial arts fight scenes and sword fights,
That
and
was a particularly complicated stunt
yeah,
coordinator gig because it's not just your typical martial arts film where you're only expecting to see martial arts. We had people with swords and axes, and then
guns.
guns, and then swords, and it was, and then karate was in there, and it was just all
There was
bonkers.
British redcoats from the Battle of Culloden, and then there was modern day FBI agents, and
It was all just bonkers, and yeah, and one particular or the sort of climax of the film is a great big battle, and we had 2 days to film it, which it's a bit stressful, but
Yeah.
And not just be the stunt coordinators, but also being performing in it
performers
as
at
well.
the same time and coordinating the entire
Battle. This beach battle between hundreds of redcoats and then loads of these guardians that had various special powers and with sword fighting and all sorts of stuff going on. It
I mean,
was crazy, but it was fucking awesome.
How do you go about that? So, I mean, you're going to be teaching people. I mean, is it like choreography? Is it like teaching somebody to dance?
A little bit. I
Yeah.
mean, to give you a bit of background on myself, before I started acting in earnest, I was a personal trainer. So someone once said, "Well, if you can't be an actor, what can you be? You'd make a great teacher." And I thought, I hate kids. That sounds awful. Um, so I'll teach grown-ups instead. But what do you teach grown-ups? I suppose you teach them fitness. So, for about 5 years, I was a personal trainer, with sort of boxing and all sorts going on. So it's been a sort of natural transition to teach people boxercise or boxing and then move that over to pretend hitting each other, which kind of falls in the same as sort of dance choreography.
Yeah, then you did the
It's
sword
very
training
similar.
and all of that sort of stuff as well. With a big battle scene, you've got to break it down into tiny little sections of the battle. So you film one small section at a time involving just a few people, and then with background people in the background showing the larger battle going on in the background.
Yeah.
And you concentrate on each little segment at a time
Yeah.
until you build up a big battle scene.
I mean,
Yeah.
in particular with Guardians, we were so lucky that we had absolute troopers of cast and supporting artists who were ready to just throw themselves in and learn stuff very quickly.
Yeah, we did a boot camp day with the main cast before we started filming the action scenes, where we taught them basics of stunts. So things like a punch, taking a punch, giving a punch, taking a kick, receiving one,
And how to fall over.
throws and falls and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
And then some basic sword fighting skills, and then some basic weapon handling skills. And so that when we did start filming, they already had a basis that we could work with.
I mean, how do you get that when somebody, let's say, somebody goes a bit over the top? Do you get guys who are doing that as well? Who I wouldn't say
Sure.
overact,
Oh,
but get too enthused and go for
Sure.
it
it
too real.
happens. It happens all the time.
Time.
Yeah.
And people don't mean it. It's just one of those things where you some people, especially supporting artists, they don't always get the opportunity to do what we did on that particular film. So you give them a rubber sword and they get really excited because they go, "Ooh," it's like having kids again.
Yep.
And it's wonderful to watch, but also you suddenly become parents and you go, "Oh God, be careful."
Okay. Yeah. Let me just take that back
Let's
off you until.
That's enough of that. You'll have that after lunch. It's okay.
Yeah,
We
you'll have someone's eye out with that, yeah.
Yeah. Funny thing is, on that particular film, we were actually working with children in some instances, and there was a little boy who has a slingshot, a little catapult, as his particular weapon throughout the film, and we had to hide it from this little boy. Weird that.
Yeah,
We
he
had to
was.
actually hide it from him up until the tape so that he wouldn't literally try and catapult rocks at cameras.
Or at other cast members.
Yeah,
But
Kathryn's
it was
cheap as
absolutely
well,
brilliant.
Yeah.
But accidents do still happen, and look, we were lucky on Guardians of Loch Ness that we didn't have any major accidents other than you got your head stotted off a wall.
Oh
Um,
yeah, yeah. I
but
mean,
but on some of the other productions I've worked on, like House of the Dragon on season one of that, we had loads of quite nasty accidents where people got their hands cut open, or a guy got a shield jabbed into his eye, and one guy actually face planted one of those fire pits and came up with his beard all on fire. Uh,
I shouldn't
we
laugh.
ran over to him going, are you all right? Are you all right? And he was like, hey, get off me. I'm fucking fine.
I didn't realise you'd been in House of the Dragon. What was that like?
In season one, yeah.
I mean, that's quite a big production as well, isn't it?
It is. I mean, you can't really see me because I was a stunt performer on it, so I was doing a lot of the sword fighting and all that sort of stuff. I did have a featured death scene where I was impaled on a cross in the sea that we filmed down in Cornwall, but they ended up cutting it out of the bloody show. So typical.
Do you find that you tend to die in a lot of movies that you're in and shows that you're in?
Yeah.
I die a hell of a lot, and I mean
Yeah.
we both
We
died
both die.
probably 40 times in Guardians of Loch
I
Ness.
know. For the amount of redcoats that we play, we die up teen times at least each.
Yeah. But it's great fun though.
Yeah.
I mean, it's
I mean,
great
that's the
playing
old
a
trick.
really sort of.
That's
It's
the old
great
trick in
playing
a
a
movie
really deep.
where. Sorry,
Sorry, go on.
I was going to say that's the old trick in a movie where all the baddies have got masks on, innit? So it's the same
Yeah,
guys getting killed over and over again. Sorry,
yeah.
sorry
We
to
had
interrupt you there.
cheats like hats down covering your faces and things like that, or being shot from behind and things, and yeah,
Lots of swapping out bits of costumes.
yeah.
Yeah. So up to now, then, what's been your favourite roles that you've played?
Well, for me, um, Guardians has been my favorite production to be on.
Yeah, but what's your favourite role?
What's my favorite role? I'll have a think. What's your favorite role? You've just done.
I've just done a dream role of mine. Back in uh October, I did Disney's Beauty and the Beast. I
Yeah.
played Belle. So I just finished filming Guardians with you, so I was kicking ass. And then next thing you know, I'm a Disney princess. So talk about versatility there.
And you are gorgeous.
Oh, thank you. But yes, that has to be. Well, of course it would be. It's every little girl's dream to be a princess, isn't it? And
Yeah.
so many years later, it finally happens. So
I guess one of my favorite roles was playing the evil twin gangsters in It Be an Evil Moon.
yes,
That was great fun. I was playing two different people, but they were twins, and one was a crime lord running Newcastle, running all the bars and stuff. But then his twin brother was a complete and utter psychopath, which was just awesome to play. That was great fun.
So how
Yeah.
do you prepare for a role like that then?
Um, I must admit I got a little bit of influence from Legend, the Tom Hardy film where he
Yeah.
plays the Cray twins, and it was all about um, finding different mannerisms for each character so that they actually walked slightly differently. I had one character was left-handed and one character was right-handed. One wore glasses, the other one didn't, and they were just the total psychopath was very quietly spoken and said very little, whereas the crime boss brother was very brash and a bit over the top and sort of Larry type of guy. So you just sort of you just make them very different people.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, and they sort of evolve from there, really.
So who's again another question like leading on from that your favourite role or that you played? What about collaborations with people? Have you had any favourite directors that you've worked with, other actors that you've worked with, and not so much the famous ones either?
Yeah, I mean, we collaborate amazingly together.
well,
Yeah, but that's
that's a
cheating. Using
given.
together, so yeah, that doesn't count.
Yeah,
Oh,
I
you're
mean,
not going to
it's one
sit
of
there
those
and say,
things
I don't want to
where,
work with her.
well, I'm going to say we're very lucky that we do work well together. I mean, could you
Yeah.
thank
imagine?
God, yeah. But I mean, uh, Phil Todd, the director of Guardians, was great to work with.
Yeah,
That whole
and
crew
actually,
and team. The AD,
Murdo's
was
assist
amazing.
AD was absolutely amazing.
He was on the money the whole time. Um,
But we'd be very lucky to work with lots of
yeah,
amazing people.
I mean, David on Zombies of the Third Reich was awesome.
And locally, Gabriel Brown,
Gabe, yeah, he's a
Gabe.
cracking guy to work with.
Um,
I must mention Anthony Wright as well. He's awesome because I've done three films with him. I've done the two. Have you seen the Future Cop films? You can
No.
watch them for free online on YouTube. Um, if you ever watch them, he did those two films. He did everything. He did the directing, the camera work, all the editing. He did all the special effects, and especially the Future Cop 2 one. The first one it was more of a test run, but Future Cop 2, he did the set designs and everything for it. Absolutely amazing guy, and he's like early 20s. It's crazy,
So he's
crazy,
probably going to
crazy
go
guy.
places then.
Oh, he
Absolutely.
Yeah.
absolutely should do. Brilliant guy. We actually filmed a short film together called Corridor, and we got Anthony in to do the editing for it, and he did an absolutely amazing job on that as well. So there's just nothing that kid cannot do.
Do you find yourself trying to? I mean, as much as trying to like haul yourself out and do any job that you can to make money. Do you find yourself that you prefer to work in one type of genre? Like, I know you do a lot of like horror thriller type stuff. Do you prefer to do that type of work, or does that not make a difference to you?
I suppose it's not so much genre, but more medium. So for the longest time, I did exclusively theatre, and only in the last two and a bit years, I've got into film, and I've caught the bug completely. Um,
Yeah, for me,
so
I consider myself a screen actor first, so film and TV, and stage second. I do love doing stage every now and then because I think it's important for an actor to do both.
mhm.
Um, but yeah,
I mean,
But
you were predominantly stage, and I was predominantly screen.
well, for someone who's not an actor and knows nothing about it, what's the big differences? I mean, to me, acting's acting. You know, if you stood on a stage or you're in front of a camera, I know it's not, but as a simpleton, me, what is the difference? You know, how different are they?
Would you like to answer that one?
Is it an hard
different,
one?
and they're not. They're different, and they're not. Like you say, acting is acting, and it doesn't matter what medium. Like you're still pretending to be someone else. I suppose it's more the actual practicalities of it, the actual process.
Yeah, with
So
stage, it's live. You're doing it, and that's it. It's that performance. You'll never see it again unless someone's recording it in the audience. Whereas with film, you have to do the same scene dozens of times because they might do four different camera setups, and you might be doing three takes for each camera setup. So you
I
know,
suppose the big challenge is with film, you're worried about continuity. So you have to kind of deliver the same over and over and over again. There's not really a lot of wiggle room for
Hmm.
divine intervention to come in, and suddenly you make a different acting choice
yeah,
from one take to another.
yeah.
Whereas you do have that freedom with
As,
live theatre.
yeah, and with when you're filming in front of camera, a lot of it is about exactly where you've got to hit your marks absolutely perfectly. Otherwise, you might not be quite in focus, or you might not be at the right angle for the camera. So it's all about getting everything perfect, like
Yeah.
Kathryn's saying, and you've got
So
a lot more freedom on the stage.
I would have thought there'd have been more pressure on you as a stage actor, but it doesn't sound it. It sounds like it's either equal pressure or more to be,
Different pressure, and
in a movie.
It's a different kind. It's different kind. So,
yeah,
like I say, with live theatre, I feel like I can allow different choices to happen. Like
Hmm.
because you've not just from other actors on the stage with you, but your audience influences
yeah,
what you do. They might react differently to something that the audience the previous night didn't.
Yeah.
So that kind of it's kind of like constantly evolving. Whereas once it's in the can for a film, once it's there, that's it. There's no kind of
you don't need to.
opportunity to evolve it and
Yeah,
change it.
you can just
I, s-
throw the dialogue out your head, and you go.
I suppose the leading on from that as well, that y- as a stage actor, you're getting, like you say, you're getting that instant feedback, so you know whether you're doing well or not. Um, I suppose in a way, it's kind of like me doing these podcasts. I don't get any feedback until I've edited them, put them out, and I don't get
Hmm.
much feedback anyway. But I don't know if people are enjoying them or not. So if you're doing it live, you're getting that feedback. You can energize yourself a bit more. You can slightly change the script, or like you say, your type of act for it. When you're doing it with a screen, and it's all like you say, you've got to wait to, was it good enough? And I suppose there's always that in the back of your mind as well. So I mean, does that make you nervous about when something's finished, or can you just switch off from that and think, all right, I did the best I did, but obviously as actors, you're doing it not just for yourself, but for the gratification of other people. So is that really important to you as well?
Yeah, we're always worried. We're our own worst critics, so we're constantly criticizing ourselves. For me, I still get terrible stage fright before going on for a live performance.
Hmm.
I get extremely nervous still. Once I'm getting into it, then the nerves go. But for that build up just before, and for the first sort of scary few minutes of being on stage in front of a live audience, is still very scary. And I think that's the same for a lot of actors. Does that affect you? You're not scared of anything, then?
Confidence.
Right. I have for me, it's film that I get. Mind you, that's because I'm newer to it.
Yeah.
I attribute that to be a factor.
Mm.
But I feel like certainly with film, you're surrounded by, or I'm surrounded by people who have been doing whatever it is, whether that's directing or their camera operator, their gaffer. They've been in this industry a lot longer than I have, and suddenly imposter syndrome kind of just bubbles away there until
Yeah.
I relax after the first sort of scenes in the can, and then I can just move on. In terms of stage, it's more excitement than nerves. And I think it's just one of those things where it's good to be nervous. I don't
Yeah.
know whether
You
that's the
feed
same
off
in
it.
everything.
Yeah.
It's good that
Obviously,
you're nervous
adrenaline as
because
well,
that
I
means you
suppose, as
care.
well. The adrenaline helps
Yeah,
as well, yeah.
absolutely.
Is there any times it's got the better of you and either of you have not been able to perform, let's say?
No, I think you have to battle through the nerves,
Yeah,
and you might be a little bit shaky initially, but we're professional actors, so you've just got to get it
you
done.
just got to do it.
Mm.
Yeah, no
Um,
matter what you feel.
yeah, I mean, if anything, the most awkward thing is if you're in a uncomfortable or awkward costume, you kind of go like, oh,
Mm.
this isn't fun. Um,
Oh,
you know.
apart from when you were dressed as when you were in a zombie outfit,
Oh,
dressed as a
yeah.
Nazi zombie.
Yes, yes. Absolutely unrecognizable in this Zombies of the Third Reich film. I appear as several different zombies, and none of them you can tell it's me. It's brilliant. It
You
was
know,
great.
you know,
So
Pizza Face
glamorous.
Yeah,
from the Spaceballs. She
yeah.
kind of looks like Pizza Face.
I have never felt more beautiful in my entire life.
So a question that comes out with that one then, is there anything that you've been that uncomfortable with that you've refused to do?
Hmm. Good question. Anything for you?
Um,
I mean, obviously you get some
I
of the,
mean,
there's some of the big names turned down sex scenes and stuff like that. Or,
well,
even kissing
it's not
scenes.
comfortable.
No.
That they're uncomfortable, but I think in the right environment, and I think that's a big thing is who you're on set with. Like,
Yeah.
is has everyone on that set done everything possible to make whatever potentially awkward or uncomfortable scene as comfortable as possible?
Comfortable and safe, a safe environment. I mean, obviously, the film industry has changed a bit since all those allegations from Weinstein and all of that sort of stuff. So that overall, I think the industry is safer because they have
It
people like the intimacy coordinators and
Yeah.
things like that these days for that kind of stuff.
There's still work to be done.
Oh, hell yes. Yeah, oh
I
yeah.
still think
Yeah.
there's work to be done, but on the whole, genuinely, and it's more, do I feel safe around the people? that I'm shooting a scene like that in front of. That
What
would
about
be.
if you look at a script and see something like that in the script or in the screenplay and think,
Mhm.
that doesn't really need to be there. Would that sway your decision on whether you're going to do that or not? If they're
I,
doing it just without sounding too blunt, if they're just trying to show tits on screen and make people
Just to
watch
be
the movie like,
gratuitous, yeah.
yeah, it's not the 1970s anymore. I miss the 1970s. But anyway, the is that
Generally, we would talk to the director and discuss
yeah.
and suggest things like an alternative, or if something just felt wrong to us. I've always been of the opinion that I will make suggestions. If they don't want to take my suggestions, then fair enough. Um, for me, most of the time, most of the issues have been safety issues when it's come down to stunts and things like that. If there's a production that's trying to rush through some action scenes and things like that, and it actually becomes unsafe for some of the cast or stunt people, and that's happened on big productions, BBC productions, ITV productions, big films. Um, Even a little bit on Guardians of Loch Ness, we were pushed for time where they were filming other scenes before the stunt stuff, and we would be like, "Look, we're running out of time. We don't want to rush this scene, otherwise it can be potentially dangerous. We've got to block it out and rehearse it properly and things like that."
hmm.
So for me, it's mainly just been more about safety stuff, really.
Yeah.
Do you have any outside agencies that come to monitor that? I'd imagine on a smaller production, that's probably not within the budget or whatever, or health and safety, let's say. Is there people monitoring, like say the big stunt scenes and stuff like that, to keep an
Certainly
eye on
on
you, keep an eye
bigger.
on them?
But yeah, on the bigger productions, they'll have a health and safety officer, but
But
half the time, half the time, when they
choices.
say action, sometimes health and
Yes.
safety goes out the
I was going
window.
to say, I think quite often what, not naming names, but some people in the industry maybe get overexcited. A brilliant idea comes to mind for a change that they'll go, "Oh, that'll look awesome,"
Let's
and it
do
Yeah.
that
happens,
instead.
and it happens in a blink of an eye. No one's got any time to go, "Oh, wait a minute, let's actually think about this and let's put safety measures in place for this new change." Sometimes it just happens so quickly.
Yeah, I mean, I was on one production for one of the UK TV channels. I won't say which one, but a period piece where there was a bunch of extras running into this courtyard where a bunch of us fight performers were doing sword fights, and they decided to give all of these extras a flaming torch and a sword to come running through all of these fights, choreographed fight scenes, and it was just carnage. People, that these extras were falling into the fights. So we were having to stop mid fight, otherwise we would end up clouting an extra. And then the director decided, with all of that going on, he decided he wanted a riderless horse riding through the courtyard as well, while all that was going on. And us stunt guys are like, "Are you insane? Are you absolutely insane? This is a big budget production, major TV channel, and people are going to get seriously injured." And lo and behold, because he wouldn't be told, we actually advised him, but he still went and did it. And lo and behold, I think two extras got injured, and one of the stunt guys got injured as well.
I mean, it happens, doesn't it?
Thankfully, the
But
horse was fine.
yeah, I was
The
going to
horse
say,
was
The
obviously, the
fine.
horse was
horse.
fine.
Yeah, well, the horse was all right. Didn't get singed. So leading on from that, then, so if we go now talk about your books. I mean, you're both authors, as you have said. So where do you get the inspiration for your books? I know we touched slightly on it earlier. Um, what brings you? You both write very different books, I imagine.
Well, I don't write books.
Ah,
I
right.
You're right.
Yeah,
Screenplays,
I write screenplays and plays in general. Um,
but
and yeah, my inspirations come from conversations, questions, and sometimes we're currently in development of a script. that is based on a true story, which involves some of my own family's personal history. My great grandfather basically was a prisoner of war, came back, and essentially created a very rudimentary sort of men's mental health club that
Around building a
Okay.
kobold.
about building a kobold in the middle in Cullercoats, and it
That's
was
brilliant. That's cool.
yeah. So there's things um like that kind of come in, and you read these stories, you read the history, and you just think that would make a cracking film, and so that's just
That's
how I go about it.
And Springweight that we're currently in pre-production on, we came up with that. We had a little short breakaway in the Lake District, and on the drive back from the Lake District back to Whitley Bay, we just started talking about this potential plot um, of a couple that are trying to save their marriage, who go on a hiking holiday in the Lake District and stumble upon this remote community who there's all kinds of sinister things going on, and we basically came up with the whole plot of the film on
On
that
the
drive
drive
home
home.
from the Lake District,
That's
and
not
now
bad
it's a
going then.
finished script.
Yeah.
So how do you balance like the home life and working together? Because obviously, if you're working together constantly all the time, there's going to be some friction, I would imagine. Can you separate work from home life, or is it just that
I'm sorry.
entwined
I'm
now? I
sorry.
don't
You
know.
mentioned the word balance.
There's no balance.
No, no, no. I mean, it's we enjoy our work,
Right.
So
It
Is
helps
it
I
to
more?
think,
love what you do. Yeah.
Is it more of a way of life for you as opposed to a job?
yeah,
Oh, it's definitely a
certainly.
lifestyle because we can be. Some weeks I have no idea what day of the week it is because we can be working any day of the week and also night or day or night shoots all the way through the night or whatever. We can be up in Scotland or down in Cornwall or over in Manchester or and also it could be any kind of stage stuff, voiceover, TV, short films. I mean, we don't always work together. Kathryn was
Yeah.
on that Beauty and the Beast production, and I was on a sword and sorcery feature film down in Yorkshire at the time. So we were both juggling completely different productions at the same time there. So that happens occasionally as well.
So does that cause you not to see each other for quite a while, or?
We've been
Sometimes.
lucky that it's not been, oh, so far
So
anyway.
far, yeah.
Yeah.
So far, it's not been like we've had massive gaps.
No, just
Um,
like a few days here and there, and then sometimes we can have like a day off and see each other again and that kind of thing.
yeah,
But it just depends what productions get thrown at us. We're jobbing actors, so we
Yeah.
have to. If we haven't got any work on, we have to take that work. And if that means one of us going down to John O'Groats and one of us going over to Manchester or something, then that's what ends up happening.
What's the voiceover stuff like? I'd imagine doing that for the first time is a bit strange.
It was a bit, but we've done so much of it now. I've done like audio books, radio plays, social media campaigns, tourism. I think I'm still the voice of one of the characters at Bamborough Castle. Um, I've recently done a couple of video games, a World War II game, and then also a sci-fi fantasy thing. That both of those are due out sometime next year. Video games are good fun. They're good.
yeah.
And
I've
just
done an album and sort of little
yeah, music, yeah,
uh,
some music video stuff.
music
That
video
kind.
stuff, and
There's so much of it. Actually, it was a bit of a boom time when the pandemic hit because all the major productions were being shut down.
Yeah.
So a lot of companies were spewing out voiceover stuff because you could do it from home. So we did quite a lot of that as well. Um, but yeah, it's good fun. We film a lot of it from home, uh, record a lot of it from home. But sometimes, especially on the bigger projects like the video games, they usually ask you to go into whatever local studio they've hired. Um, and you just sit in a sound booth.
So a bit like this almost.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm sat in a spare bedroom.
that.
I'm sat in a spare bedroom
Well,
with a dodgy flag behind me.
we use a wardrobe. If very high tech, very high tech. We use a wardrobe filled with our costumes and props from all the
It's good
stuff that
sound.
we do.
It's good sound deadening. Yeah.
Yeah,
I thought.
yeah, good sound deadening.
Works a treat.
So, do you have any influences that have that make you? I'm trying to think of the word to say really. So, do you have any influences of people you've watched, like, let's say like Al Pacino or something like that, who you aspire to be as good as, or you can model your acting on? You know, I mean, everyone's wants to be different, but do you know what I mean?
Oh, there's a list. There's a list, surely. I mean, I've always, I mean, Emma Thompson is sort of who I would hope to come close to or would hope to work with at some point in the future. I mean, she, like myself, is a screen playwright as well as an actor and producer, and I just think that she's wicked. I love her.
Yeah.
And similar vein, or similar person, I guess, Kate Winslet as well. With her latest release, I think she's fabulous. Um, and I'm trying to think.
That was a really good movie she's just been in. About the
Wasn't it?
photographer.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah,
really good.
very good.
Just a brilliant film that just encapsulates the time and just her as a woman
Yeah, I
brilliantly.
mean, I watched an interview with her saying how long it took to get that, pushed through for production and stuff like that. She almost financed most of it herself, type of thing, and getting the backing was hard. But I watched
Yeah,
it like the other week, and it was amazing. I really enjoyed that movie. It opened
yeah,
my
It's
eyes
great.
to the type of person she was for wanting to do it, and also the lady she was playing, and her name's gone straight out my head. The war correspondent. That woman was amazing. Um, you
yeah,
know, power to her, especially in them times, type of thing.
Yeah.
I'll remember
absolutely.
the name of it in a minute. Really can't
And
remember
the
it.
fact is that even now Kate Winslet's fought and won, thankfully, for that film to be made. And I think
Yeah.
it's just so important
Mm.
to have films like that,
Yeah.
you know, that
Yeah, absolutely.
that push.
For me, I still love and admire a lot of the, I suppose, older greats like Richard Burton, Richard Harris, Oliver Reed, Peter O'Toole, um, but sadly missed Alan Rickman as well.
Mm.
I was a huge fan of Alan Rickman, would have loved to have worked with him, taken far too soon.
Mhm.
Um, but yeah, people like that, and there's a myriad of other amazing actors out there as well.
So moving on to your
Yeah.
books, then. I mean, we keep like touching on them and stuff like that. I keep, as I said earlier, they've all got a dark theme. Let's say. I mean, I was reading that out to you earlier. I'll just grab it again. Who is Rod Glenn? ChatGPT. This isn't me. This is ChatGPT. As an author, Rod Glenn is best known for his successful suspenseful and often chilling stories. His works are typically dark in tone, with vivid characters and gripping plots. The key books are King of America and Cinema: The Northumberland Massacre. Isn't Cinema a series of books as well for you?
Yeah, there's three in the trilogy. It's basically about, and I can't quite remember. I think it was loosely based on a dream, and then a sort of a what if a normal guy who's never killed anyone, never done anyone any harm in his entire life, decides as an experiment to see if he can get away with murder, and then return to his normal life and never do anything bad ever again, as a social experiment to see if the violent act of killing actually changes a person. And it sort of evolved from there, where he ended up deciding actually he's gonna as the experiment sort of grew from there, and he decided, well, actually, I'm not just going to kill one person. I'm going to see if I can beat the record number of murders by a single perpetrator, and then return to his normal life. So he ends up targeting a village in Northumberland that has 390 people in it, and he then plots for 6 months and actually watches everyone, gets to know their routines, gets to be a friend to all of these people, and then plots when the weather gets particularly terrible and the whole village is actually, the community's cut off, decides to then act out his plan and try and wipe everybody out. But then there's flies in the ointment where certain people aren't in the places where he expects them to be and things like that. So it ends up where there's a handful of people, and it becomes a sort of a cat and mouse game between him and the last survivors of the community.
Sounds like
But
that
yeah,
made a
that's sort
series,
of,
right? You should get a
well,
screen for
that's the
that one.
first book. That's the first
Oh.
book, and then things take a different. They go in different directions in the next two books after that. But yeah, I've got a sort of a dark imagination. I've always had that.
Do you find writing easy, or does it take a while for you to finish a book? Or
Um,
depending on the stories, I suppose.
I mean, I've written first drafts of books within a few months, and then some books have taken me years and years to get it to a point where I'm happy with it. So it just really depends, and it's the same with scripts and
Yeah,
screenplays. You sometimes you can get that first draft and you're really happy with it, but sometimes it takes loads and loads and loads of drafts.
it does. It does. I mean, certainly for the short film that we released, it's currently doing the film festival circuit right now called Corridor. I think I managed to write that in 2 days, and it was like a fever dream. And I woke up at the end of it and went, "What the hell did I just write?"
Yeah,
Um,
you vomited that out like it was The Exorcist.
yeah, it was a bit wild. Um, whereas Spring Race, we got the initial draft out in a few weeks, but then it's had so many incarnations since. I think we're on draft 70 odd at this point. Um, and it's still not done. It's still not been filmed just yet. So there's chance for another 70 odd drafts to come out of us yet.
Do you
So
ever
it
go
really
back and
does
think?
depend.
Do you ever go back and think, I wish I'd changed that bit, but it's too late now, and I wish I'd stayed with like say, the initial script or
All the time.
screenplay that
Yeah.
came out, because
Yeah.
that was the original, and that was Virgin type of thing, and I think that'd be better.
With
And the other question is
with anything,
while you're doing that and you're doing the screenplay here, or you're writing this book there, you're acting. When you're writing the screenplays or the books, is that like you getting into character again for each one of them, or can you
In a
flip
way.
between? Do you just find that
I mean,
hard? If you're writing a screenplay and a book, or you're writing two books at once, like you say, some of them you took a while to write, jumping from one to the other, is that like almost like you trying to switch the switch in your mind to do it?
I suppose as because we're actors as well as writers, we constantly have several different productions at various different stages, and also doing self tapes and auditions and things in between. So we're constantly jumping between different personas and characters anyway. So I guess that
Yeah,
probably,
we've
Yeah.
got to move so fast
yeah,
anyway. So I suppose, it's a bit like multitasking, just patting your head and rubbing your tummy at the same time.
yeah.
Um, and we're just used to doing that all the time.
Yeah, we go, right, okay, we'll stop working on this right now because I've got this thing to do now. So I get into that mind space. Right, okay, and go.
I suppose that's the advantage you've got over somebody who say was just an author, where they could end up with writing mental block or writer's block or whatever, because they've got to stay in that mindset and that character until that book's finished. And
Yeah,
maybe it's not have the ability to jump across to another story, let's say. So I mean that's the benefit of the way you do it and what you are doing at the moment.
it's also about discipline because there should technically not ever be writer's block. It's just it's getting into a mindset of treating it like a job. So you have to write something for a certain number of hours each day, or however much time you allot to it. You write something, and even if it's not the actual book you're working on, you write something just because you actually train yourself to get past things like writer's block and things like
Yeah.
that. It's
I mean, me personally, I'd never be able to do it because I haven't got the imagination. I really, and probably some of the stories
that's
that
not
come to
true.
my head.
Everybody has a good imagination.
Yes.
Yeah, but I'd get locked up for mine, so I don't think I should write any of it down.
Have you read any of the shit I
You need to read his books then. Cinema in
I don't know what
particular.
the sound of cinema scares me, so I don't think I want to read it. But no, I'm going to get it
I'm
on Amazon.
probably on watch lists
Yeah, probably.
for my
You're not
search
the first.
history.
I'll tell you what, you're not the first person to come on this podcast who's on a watch list. There's been others. Seriously, as I found out afterwards. I'm trying to think really where to push this now. We've spoke about your books, we've spoke about your movies. What other interests that keep you going, really? Because you can't have time for a hobby or anything like that, can you? Really?
Well, your hobby business is the baking,
Yeah.
which is like a little side hustle, and
Yeah, it's just, I mean, it's just one of those things like most people in lockdown, you found things of interest to stop you going mad. And one of those for me was baking. My dad had taken up baking as a sort of retirement uh, hobby a few years ago, and a few years prior to that, and then I took it on as well, and it's kind of stuck ever since. So yeah, I bake quite a lot now, and we're not allowed to buy home bread, like baked breads from the shop ever. They're disgusting uh, to us now. So
but yeah,
What about you,
for
Rod?
me,
What's
I
your
just
hobbies?
I don't. I mean, I try and hit the gym as much as possible. That I suppose is an actual hobby. I do it go so much. Other than that, I love films still. I try to watch as many films as I possibly can. Other than that, I don't really have any other hobbies because I love acting so much. You know that it's just great fun to be actually doing that all the time and getting paid for it is just amazing.
I mean, I won't ask about the wages because I imagine they're not very good, really, to be honest.
They can sometimes be good and sometimes be poor.
Yeah.
hmm
I mean,
We've
you
been
said you.
lucky in that we've had a couple of decent paid gigs this year, and then we've had lots of lower paid gigs that have
yeah,
kept us ticking over.
Yeah. That must be quite hard to balance everything along that line, them lines as well. So that it doesn't end up putting pressure on you or anything.
Oh yeah, because if neither of us are working, we're actually not earning any money at all, other than the bit of money I earn off the publishing side of things, and the bit of money you earn off
baking.
off the baking, and the occasional murder mysteries and things. So if we haven't got any big acting jobs going on, money can get a bit tight. So
Yeah.
we start living off ramen and, and whatever else.
Talking about the murder mystery things, do you want to just explain about that?
Mhm. Yeah, so I'm going to shout out the company that we work with, Tall
Yeah.
Tales Mysteries, run by Sarah West. She created Tall Tales Mysteries, because her son, Aidan, said he wanted to grow up to be an actor. Um, she created it. She's been doing it for about 6, 7 years now, and Aidan is now grown up and doesn't want to be an actor anymore. So we're now stuck with this. I say stuck. It's a great company to work for.
They're lovely,
Um,
yeah.
and yeah, it's a murder mystery evening. So I'm sure we all remember the box sets of murder mysteries that you would have
Mhm.
at dinner parties and invite your friends and family to dress up. It's like that, but on a much larger scale. So you have us, um, actors come in as the suspects. We do have some scripted elements, so there's little clues in there, but then also the guests, so the people who want us there, um,
Yeah.
they they have the opportunity to ask us any questions, and we have to answer in character.
Yeah, so there's a hell of a lot of improv. You've got to have very
I
good
can
improv
imagine.
skills.
So that's an interesting one to do. And it takes place usually over an evening, so people have a meal and have like a three-course dinner while we entertain them for the whole evening. Um, and yeah, we've I've been doing it now since I want to say 2017. Was my first murder mystery with Sarah, and she actually kept me in work throughout the entire pandemic, thanks to Zoom and online murder mysteries. So just when you thought, just when you thought acting, the industry had died a death, and we all thought, oh, this is it, this is the end, goodbye to a whole industry. We managed to do murder mysteries online, which were not just received locally, which is what we do in person, but we were used internationally. So we had people tuning in from Switzerland, from Singapore, from Chicago, Illinois, and all over the place. And so it's pretty cool.
That
And
sounds it, yeah. I think that was quite
yeah,
bizarre, really.
yeah, it was really weird. And then,
That it took a lot
you know,
of planning, a lot of setting up.
yeah. So that was an interesting time. I mean, it was the pandemic.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
was an interesting
Yeah.
time anyway.
But they're great fun to do.
They're great fun
And we've got like what 50 odd different
stories.
storylines. Some based on things like Peaky Blinders, or set on the Titanic, or
We've got a Traitors, if anyone's a fan of Traitors,
the
the
TV
TV
show.
show. We have one based on that. So there's
So
loads.
is this mainly where you go? I mean, forgive me for being ignorant. Is this where you go to someone's house and do it as well, or do they?
Sometimes we go to
Yeah.
people's houses, yeah.
Right.
Sometimes we go to people's
Sometimes
houses.
hotels and places like that. We do them at places like Lumley Castle and um,
Yeah,
venues like that. So they'll put on a posh dinner, and we all come in costume. And
yeah. And come January, we are doing a whole weekend murder mystery. So there's people who are staying overnight for a whole weekend from Friday to Sunday, um, where we're doing a big murder mystery for the whole weekend, and that's happening down in
Peterborough.
Peterborough at Alton Hall Hotel. So there are, I think, still tickets available for that. So if
Could
anyone
be.
fancies
We'll
looking
push
on
that.
the
Just hope
yeah,
you don't
yeah,
get some
on
smart ass who guesses it straight away. Like in the first 2 minutes, like, it was in.
then it's our job to make them second guess themselves and gaslight the shit out of
Yeah,
them.
there's lots of red herrings thrown in there to just confuse the hell out of people.
So, along with your movie that you're working on at the moment and the one you've just finished filming, what's future plans for you apart from the Murder Mystery Weekend? What highlights do you think you've got going next year?
We're applying for various different gigs
Yeah.
in terms of films, TV, stage productions. I've a couple of weeks ago finished another run of a domestic violence stage play called "You Need to Say Sorry" with Alison, written by Alison Stanley, which is it's a fan. We've actually performed it for crisis people and police and
Social
social
workers.
workers and things, and they're actually using it as a training tool for the sort of the gaslighting in it, and all these sort of red flags and things, and so we do that kind of stuff as well. So we're applying for all of those things. We're waiting to hear about a couple of things that we've already self-taped for. Who knows what the hell will
Yes.
happen next year? Who knows?
That's-
Honestly, you're lucky to know what we're doing next month.
Well, I
Things
mean,
change fast.
it's the life you live, I suppose, isn't it? And I suppose that's one of the draws of it as well, to keep the excitement going.
Yeah, you never know what you're going to be working on next.
You're certainly never bored.
Right, so I just want to go back a bit to something you said about your grandfather and
Yes.
the cobble and the mental health side of
Yeah.
it. So I mean,
It's a
in
true
today's
story.
I mean that'd be an amazing screenplay, and it should be
It,
now.
it is, but I
The
think it's important as well. I mean, it, it, it it's basically, or the story that I understand so far, from all the diary entries, it is basically a men's mental health club before men talked about mental health. You know, my great grandfather was a prisoner of war. He went through camp after camp after camp with a head injury, and he was one of the Dunkirk fallen, taken back then.
yeah,
So it talks
so he went
about
through the
men's
whole
mental
war
health.
as a prisoner of war as well.
Yeah, basically.
Wow.
Yeah,
I mean, I've read
but
stories of
it's
guys that happened to, and not only they they almost had imposter syndrome as well. They were coming
Mm,
back at the end of the war, and they
yeah,
felt as though they hadn't um, like done enough. Even though they were caught and through no fault of their own, some of them felt as though they hadn't done enough for the war effort. Let's say, which is bollocks, and we know that.
yeah,
But
yeah.
it's the way your mind works, I suppose. But a screenplay like that and a story like that, I think the current environment that we're in at the moment would be ideal because, as we've spoke about, me doing this podcast has opened my mind to, or opened not my mind, well, my mind and my eyes to men's mental health at the moment. Not saying that women don't have mental health because obviously they do. Um, but when I
I
say men's
certainly
mental
think that
health, I
men are
mean
now
everyone.
talking about it so much more.
yeah.
Yes, men are starting to talk about it more, and with the advent of like say Andy's Man Club and stuff like that. I know one of the charities we look after, they've got a um like a wood workshop. They have a couple of guys twice or three times a week. They all rock up and just basically saw wood and talk to each other. I don't think they make anything. I just think they make sand bits of wood down and stuff like that or whatever. But they're there talking to each other. Um,
But
the
that's a bit like the story that this group of blokes just get together to make this boat,
yeah,
um, and they basically they take the mick out of each other. It's all the lad behavior, and there's some genuinely hilarious moments in it. But it's also you see throughout the course of the diary entries and things, and that we'll try and get that on film, just how much the especially the grandfather, how much he's keeping inside of himself from the war and from his PTSD and
Yeah.
from being a prisoner and from being seriously injured at Dunkirk. I mean, he was saved by a German surgeon.
wow.
Otherwise he would have died.
Yeah, he would never, my great grandfather Norman would never have a bad word said about German doctors. He was,
He saved his life. Yeah,
yeah,
Wow. I
but
mean,
his unit basically had to leave him for dead,
yeah,
at Dunkirk, and they thought he was dead for a time, but he actually was taken back to a hospital and recovered, and then spent the years in POW camps. And
it's like
there's
the thing we mentioned earlier about the mental health and stuff like that. I didn't realize until I started doing this podcast how beneficial it is to talk. Um, I didn't talk to anyone for about 5 years basically since I left the army. I went to work, I went home, I stopped going out. Probably didn't help my marriage type of thing, whatever. I stopped going out to the pub and stuff like that. I stayed in the house, and I didn't realize that I was ill. I didn't. No, I still don't consider myself that I was ill. But as it turns out, I was. I had I was, I was wrong. I was a bit in the edge. You know what I mean? But without realizing it, that you end up so looking in so much on yourself. That
internalize all of that stuff, and it messes with you over time. Yeah.
well, I mean,
and I can imagine, is it a
yeah.
bit
Sorry,
of a
go on.
double-edged sword for you in that you I mean, you undoubtedly hear other people's stories, other people's trauma, and I mean, you shouldn't. I don't think anyone should compare their trauma to someone else's
because they're
No,
all different.
because
Yeah.
yeah,
it
very much so.
invalidates yours. And I, I hope that that's something you yourself try and stay away from.
Well, yeah,
Well,
you were in a bloody war zone,
I
and
suffered.
I had a car crash.
Yeah, but it's different. You know, like you say, it's different. I mean, again,
Yeah.
um put it this way: I don't like the word veteran, right? Because I don't class myself as a veteran. I class your grandfather as a veteran, right? And I class someone who was in Korea and Malaya and Burma and places like that as veterans. I don't class me as a veteran, but I get called it, and technically, in reality, I am. But I don't
Mhm.
consider anything that I've done any great. You know, to me, a veteran's like a war hero type of thing. You know what I mean? Like the memory of them and stuff like that. But I know guys who've
Anybody
done.
who served, especially in an actual war zone like Bosnia and stuff and Iraq, then you're a veteran. You've
Yeah,
served your country.
but it's just yeah, it's all right. To me, it's like
That's your
uh,
modesty talking there.
no,
Look
it
how
might
big
be.
his
I don't know.
modesty is. What a giant modesty. Hmm?
Oh, fuck off. The But like I said, I mean, I got diagnosed with quite a few things, and I didn't think I could say that I was ill because I know guys who've had it a lot worse than me. But like you said, trauma's trauma, um,
Yeah.
and the anxiety and the stuff like that. Like you mentioned that you were diagnosed with PTSD from a car accident. I mean, how did that? I mean, I won't ask how the car accident happened. It was a fucking car accident. Um, but
Well, I was actually
It's pretty
technically
spectacular, to
I
be
was
fair.
technically run over by my own car because yeah. What happened was I'd been on a night shoot in Edinburgh and I broke down on the Edinburgh bypass at like 1 in the morning. Um, Police came along and actually helped me push the car into an emergency lay-by, one of those very narrow ones that there's nowhere to go. So
Mhm.
I stood out a good 10 foot in front of the car, using the car as a shield, with my hazards on, and a guy uh, decided to swing into the lay-by at 70 miles an hour, thinking it was a turn off because there was a turn off about 600 or 700 yards up from the lay-by. So he smashed through my car and smashed my car into me. And I started off 10 foot in front and ended up 50 foot behind.
okay, now, wow.
So, yeah, 13 stitches in the head, various broken bones, broken nose, ribs, leg. Um,
Lucky to
I've
be
got
alive.
coccyx problems. I've got tinnitus problems from it. And for a good year to 18 months, I didn't think there was anything wrong. I was like, yeah, I survived it. How cool is that? But I was harboring some seriously dark thoughts, and it fucked me up.
Yeah.
And it
So
took
what, so
talking
what
to a
made
therapist.
so what made you actually go for help?
It was offered to me as part of the sort of aftercare package. They basically said, "Do you want some therapy?" And at the time, it was 2020. Well, it was going into 2021, so it was still all Zoom stuff. So I did some Zoom therapy with someone, CBT therapy, it's called,
Yeah.
cognitive behavioral
Yeah.
therapy, and she just pulled out all of this trauma that I was holding on to. And it was just Jesus. I was a wreck for a while afterwards, but it was good because it got it all out.
Yeah. I mean, uh, with me, when I had my therapy, she was really, really good. She allowed me to self-diagnose myself, basically.
Mm.
I She'd ask me a question, and it was weird. It was like doing a podcast in reverse, and I kept saying it to that, and she kept telling me, "Stop doing it. Stop being in your podcast." And I was like, "Well, I don't know how to talk to people now." You know what I mean? Type of thing. Kind of typecast myself. But she'd
It's
give me
all
a
right. We're
question.
typecast all the time.
Yeah.
I'd get she'd ask me a question, and I'd think about it, and I'd give her several answers, and then while I was giving her them answers, I'd go ding, right, okay, so this is why my head's doing this. Because what I suffered was from, I wouldn't say OCD behaviour, but because there was this part of my brain was trying to send me down dark places, which it really, really was. This part of my brain was going, no, you've left the gas on, or you've left the light on, or the back door's unlocked. And it was that was the annoying bit, because it got that bad that wherever I was, I had to go on and check it and stuff like that. Like, it was bizarre. I'd never been like that in my life. But as it turns out, it was just that part of my brain trying to stop the rest of my brain from harming me.
Trying to change the pattern.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was like you were like self-healing yourself. And it kind of worked, and once I could understand that and I got to talk and get rid of that emotion, the anxiety attack stopped, the thoughts of self-harm stopped. I mean, I've lost friends in the last 10 years, 12 years, through PTSD, through mental anguish and stuff like that. And mine was I wanted to drive into a bridge at a very fast rate, but what stopped me again was that bit in my brain here saying, no, you don't want to do that. You'll wreck your car, you'll survive, and it'll hurt, and your insurance will go up.
Yeah.
And then
I think we've all talking from my own personal experience. I did at one time or another. I had mental health issues myself, and I was suicidal at one point, and I was gonna go off a bridge. And then I looked down at the water and thought, that's awfully dirty. I don't really want to be covered in that, was what initially was my reservation. And then, funnily enough, I saw a cat off the side of a bridge, and that's what snapped me out of it on that particular instance. But it's weird how your brain's
trying to save you in different small ways. Yeah.
It's also trying to get rid of you as well, because
it's trying to kill you at the same time.
It's doing both.
It's the intrusive thoughts. You just can't stop them. It's like when you're talking to someone, you just want to say, "Oh, shows your tits," or something odd like that. Almost a Tourette's type of thing. That you just have these intrusive thoughts. And
I think that's just you. I think that one's just you.
No, but most people can control them. But them intrusive thoughts can do quite a lot of damage, and it is training your brain. I'm not a psychologist or anything like that. But you can train people with help of therapy and counselling and stuff like EMDR can train the brains to control it, and and it saves more people than it. The way I think that mental health has come a long way recently is amazing. It's still got a way to go, and there's still a lot of people who are too scared to talk about it or too scared to approach. For help.
Yeah, we've got a rise in toxic masculinity again with people like Andrew Tate and all that sort of stuff, which are actually doing so much harm to especially younger, more vulnerable young men.
More
just
vulnerable
impressionable men looking for role models. Yeah. They're looking for someone to look up to, and as soon as there's bigger men out there who say that certain behaviors are acceptable, like, how they treat their women, how they treat themselves, how they treat their friends, with unkindness, that's how they believe that you're meant to be, and you'll be accepted
as a strong alpha male. That's how I'm supposed to act, and all of that crap.
Where
me coming from a very different. God, I can't believe I'm going to say this. Me coming from a different generation. Fucking how old am I? Jesus. I can see it. You know what I mean? I mean, I don't go out and mistreat people. I don't look down on women and this, that, and the other. Although we get accused of it, people from the 70s and 80s and that. No, we weren't like that then. It wasn't toxic masculinity. All right, Nuts magazine, bit of fun. It was no one wasn't harming anyone or stuff like that. But they're going to the other extreme. But I think that's a fight back against where people have gone too far the other way. But to me, I don't see it in normal life. In reality, most people, if I go out these doors in this house now, nobody gives a shit. Really, people are more concerned about themselves and their own life. Like what's just happened in Syria today. So that's going to timestamp this podcast, or Syria yesterday. When I spoke about the guy at work today, he went, oh, this has happened, that's happened, this is going to happen. What do you think? I says, do you give a shit? And he was like, well, what do you mean? I said, is it going to affect your life? He goes, no. I said, are you bothered? He went, not really. There you go then. And I think that's the way a lot of people are. So the media
people are insular. Yeah.
Yeah. The people like Tate, and I don't really know that much about him because he's not in my circle of what I look at online and stuff like that. Definitely know what I don't look online. You don't want to know what I look at online. Yeah, scrub that bit. I'll live on my own. I can look at what I want.
You're on the watch list. You're on the watch list.
Well, I did say somebody was on it.
No, but it makes sense.
You know what I mean? It's like I don't see what they get up to, and like what you just mentioned there, the younger generation sees them and they're looking for them as a role model, and they really, really aren't. I mean, is the solution right? Use lot, get in the army, get in the military. It's not a bad solution. It's one of the biggest.
It's not one simple solution, but it's got to be about education, and it's about respect. People have got to learn to respect everyone around them, whether male, female, different color, different religion,
abilities, disabilities as well.
Yeah,
it's about
It's about empathy, and it's about trusting people around you to have empathy, which I don't think a lot of people have nowadays. Which is,
I don't know. It's like that bit what I was saying about people don't give a shit. I think. Again, I don't walk outside the house and see people staring at people and going, they just don't. I mean, I think I'm lucky that we live in the Northeast and there's not much of that in the Northeast. We don't suffer from the bigger metropolitan areas, where there's a lot of people and where they're a lot closer together. Christ, I live in Northumberland, there's no one here, type of thing. So I can't really appreciate it or like comment on it, really, to be honest. I just think that in my life, and again, being quite insular, in my life, I see people just being normal, interacting. Most of the people don't look at Tate and stuff like that. The press blows it all out of proportion. He blows it out of proportion because it makes him money.
The press are absolutely terrible at basically concentrating on certain things and making them seem far worse than they actually are, because they want to sell ads and things like that.
Yeah, sex sells. Bad news sells. It's money. Everything's about money and power, unfortunately.
Yeah.
It's just the way the world is, and it's not going to change in the end because that's human nature. As much as we want it to, I don't think it will.
We're a very flawed species.
Well, it's not. I mean, if you look, without changing the subject completely and going down a completely different route, look at different types of politics. Communism and socialism is a lovely idea, and everyone's equal and everyone should share, right? But human nature,
great idea in principle, yeah,
but it doesn't work because I've worked harder than you, so I want more. Why should all right, we've got the social welfare society that we've got at the moment, and I know people who've never worked in their lives. But so what? But if I'm working on an equal level with someone, fine, he can share what I've got. But when I start working harder than him, I want more. I want a better car. I want a bigger house. That's capitalism, and that's just human nature that we want better than not so much the person over there, but the people behind us. Our parents have probably brought us up to want more, and the generation of the 80s, 90s, where I started being a parent, we probably spoiled our children more than we should have done, and give them more. Didn't give them enough smacks. I didn't say that. I meant it. We didn't discipline them enough, type of thing. So they've wanted more and expect more, and that's got worse and worse and worse and worse until now. They just expect it, but that's the social aspect that people are trying to push.
I've got an interesting hot take for you to think about, because I don't think any generations of parents should love their kids and spoil their kids and want more for their kids than they ever had. That's normal.
Yeah, of course it is.
I think it's the fact that, I personally am a millennial, So, I have opinions on the fact that we are the most hated generation and for what. The fact is that our parents or our grandparents refuse to retire, even though we're the most qualified. We've been to the universities, we've done all the
You can't
training,
afford to
and you
retire.
don't bloody retire to
You
let us
can't
take
afford
on the
to.
job.
There's no
Well,
jobs
that's the thing,
anyway.
and and then it's just it's a whole thing.
Cost of living gone through
Cost
the
of
roof.
living gone through the roof.
Nobody
So
can afford to get on the housing ladder anymore, and
No.
it's just it's the whole of Western civilization is in a right mess these days.
top of all
Trump will
that, we
sort it
now
out,
have
though.
Trump
Yeah, Trump will sort
we
it
now
all
got.
out.
again.
Oh yeah, he sorted it all out the last time, and he's going to sort it all out this time as well.
I'm just waiting for Boris to come back, and then it's a full circle, isn't it? And then we're all screwed. But
No,
as
no,
much
no, no,
as...
no. Farage is young blood now.
Oh God, that Reform Party. Yeah.
It's
Anyway, we
go
shouldn't talk
nowhere.
about
Anyway,
politics on this.
That's politics, yeah.
Politics.
Right, I'm going to end it. I'm going to end it now. Right.
Now we're
It's been
done. Now we're
lovely.
done.
Yeah, now we're done. We started talking politics. That's it. We should stop because it'll be religion
Yeah.
next.
It's
It'll just
done.
start. It'll just World War Three.
No,
Don't
this
get me on World War Three.
podcast is not long enough.
All organised religion is wrong.
Funny enough, conversation I had today at work. Yeah, I'll talk about that in a minute. Right, I'll stop the recording again. I'll cut that bit out. I won't save again. 21 minutes 44. Yeah. Stop. I hope you enjoyed that podcast. I enjoyed recording it. If you could just hit the like button, and also if you could subscribe and hit the notification bell, that'd be great because it'll help the channel grow. The more people will see it, the bigger it'll get, and the more guests I can get on, and the more people I can talk to. Well, I hope you enjoyed it, like I said. Look forward to the next one. Hopefully, it'll be out next week as normal. Bye-bye now.